Ah, another video. Yeah, okay. It's not a response video directly. So anyway, My Misery and Me is kind of a long video. Nice. Yeah, there's just millions of hours of this stuff. It just is kind of amazing. Anyway, he found some wacky guy, you know, in his little green thing here, and yeah, the bottom line is yeah, it's just another guy who, look, life is here, so it must be doing something. It must, yeah, it's got to be functional, right? The first molecule that replicated had to know what it was doing, or it wouldn't have done it, would it? You know, some kind of crap like that. It's just like, it's just this, find any justification for life. And basically the justification is, it was here first, your idea that it sucks came second, so it wins because it was here first. It's just something that silly. It's sitting in a bigger chair than you, or whatever. Just no rationality at all. But anyway, so yeah, I thought I'd go find some of these crazy people. So I thought I would search on a crazy word like Inmendham. You really can't do searches on screen names, unfortunately, because there's just so much crap in here, you know, that YouTube throws in. So we'll just go to some of the crap and just see what happens real quick, or semi-quickly. So anyway, the first video comes up is Bill Gates, and it's not a sponsored video, so it did come up on the, you know, it's not a recommended video, it's just a, so somehow it is relevant on the keyword Inmendham, which is sort of interesting. So some guy called Billy Athens. We'll listen to a little bit of Bill Gates on euthanasia. See, there's no indication of Inmendham here in the description or anything.
Fora TV.
Cool.
The world is thinking.
Yeah, I used to be subscribed to Fora, so maybe that's it. I don't know.
The proportion of GDP that goes to healthcare, is that overallocated?
Well, the U.S. spends 17% of GDP on healthcare, and you drop down to number 2, which is Switzerland at 12%. And so you say, well, hey, what do we get for that? Well, we do.
Oh, he's such a nerd. Sorry, but man, you get a corset too. He is a little tubby. But just look at these hands. You know, this hand jive is so important in life. You can read so much about people through these little handy things. You know, it's just look. I mean, he probably holds his penis like that.
We get nothing. The health outcomes, which are complicated to compare, but the health outcomes are basically slightly worse, both in terms of averages and the inequity. Our bottom quartile is very ugly.
Yeah, oh, he's calling the bottom quartile ugly. Did you hear that? He's using some kind of U word against the bottom quartile. Yeah, you know, he's just analyzing the statistics, you know, and the fact is that for all our healthcare spending, we don't live longer and we don't live healthier, and, you know, it's caused by a lot of things, though, because we eat absolute shit in this country, so that's probably one of those reasons.
Compared to all other rich countries, bottom quartile. Our upper quartile is somewhat better, but that's how you get the
elitist, the upper quartile, the upper quartile. Oh.
Inequity. So we're spending at a huge rate, which if it wasn't increasing faster than inflation, it's increasing as a percentage of the economy.
Well, that's the funny part, right, too, is that a lot of this spending on health care, they don't, you know, it depends on what part you're counting, right? The part the public is spending, and then there's the part that the rich people spend, you know, when they get sick, like people like you, who have like 3 of their own private doctors, and if they get sick, they rent the whole floor of the hospital. Yeah, I wonder if they counted all that into the quartiling, what kind of facade or building of bullshit they would come up with.
Then, okay, you can probably afford it, but as it continues to grow, it squeezes, unless people say, yes, I would like to be taxed a lot more, and most states have these supermajorities that are...
Newsflash, healthcare isn't paid for by the states, it's mandated by the feds.
Required to do that, and, you know, it's not likely, and it's not clearly a good thing either, but unless, so as long as you're dealing with a finite amount, as the medical cost goes up, and that shows up both in state budgets as so-called state Medicaid spending, and it shows up in the federal budget as Medicare, and therefore...
Yeah, that's right. You know, yeah, the Medicaid, obviously, is the really desperately poor spending. Yeah, they dump that on the state.
Of of Medicaid, it squeezes out everything else. So right now what you see is it's squeezing higher education. You're raising tuitions at the University of California as rapidly as they can. And so the access that used to be available to the middle class or whatever is just...
yeah, right. Another pile of crap. But regardless, I mean, the whole education system's a big sham anyway, so why don't you get on that subject of property taxes and why people should be taxed out of their house because cunts like you decide to have kids? Why should I subsidize your fucking kids? Your kids should be your problem, fucktard. Which they are. Yeah. His daughter likes cats, so that's some hope for the world, right? The only hope I have for the world is that Bill Gates' little kid, she loves cats. And if you love cats, you probably can't go too wrong. Hopefully.
Just rapidly going away. That's a trade-off society is making because of very, very high medical costs and a lack of willingness.
I don't understand. Some people say they love cats, but they don't really love cats. So, I mean, like Tranquil, he doesn't really love cats. I saw him torment a cat once. No, he thought it was playing, but he was tormenting it.
To say, you know, is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-up in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. So you, of course,
that's an interesting thing you just said, which is just the last 3 months in life for one person or something, because we haven't had...
Who's this fucktard? Yeah, I'd already pull your plug, fella. You're way past your prime, buddy.
The discussion of how to allocate that money. It means we lay off 3 teachers to do so. I mean, in other words, we haven't had this type of allocation.
We're making that trade-off because of huge...
Yeah, right. So we're spending... Look, most of your healthcare dollars are going to be spent in the last 6 months of your life. That's the fact of the matter. And it's like a huge amount of money, $70,000, $80,000. So it's like half of a decent house gets burned down, figuratively, you know, to pay for you to be a babbling, drooling sack of shit. Yep. And that's because we have a rational society. And people are cool and great, and the human race needs to survive because it's too fucking stupid to figure out that is idiotic. I mean, really, this is so... To even fucking... we have to have this conversation. Everybody isn't just... I would be hysterical. What, do we even have to discuss this? Do you even hear how preposterous these questions you're asking me is? You might as well be asking me, how cool is it to shove Coke bottles up our asses? Aren't we incredibly cool? We shove Coke bottles up our asses all day, and then we punch each other in the stomach and try to break them. Now, is this human tradition the coolest thing ever, or what? Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, Bill Gates. See you later and such. Keep up the bad work and whatnot. Yeah. Good reason for anti-natalism. Your kids will have to live in a Bill Gates-controlled universe. Save them. Save them. Save them. Anyway. Alright, this Booger Man. He's picking his nose. Anyway, star of Sagittarius guy. Complete lunatic. Really can't deal with him. Won't play his video because he's just too fucking weird. Sorry, just too fucking... He talks like he's got, like, whatever... bricklash, like, you know, he got hit with a brick when he was 5, and he just totally fucked, and he's sound, but he's not, like, inarticulate, he's just, like, functionally inarticulate, if you know what I mean, but besides that, he's just, you know, he says one thing one day, he says something else the next day, he says something else the next day, so he's just blowing smoke up everybody's asses, so fuck him. Useless sack of shit. Inmendham video, yay, well, fuck that. Inmendham video, yay, fuck that. Earl Portman video, yeah, oh, fuck that. Another one was, I'm sick of this drinking video bullshit. You know, all I'm proud of myself is I drink my beer by the quart. I'm a beer quart drinker. I'm up to a half gallon sometimes. Sometimes I grab that half gallon of beer and chug her down. Not cool. Drinking is, what did the guys probably some sort of cliche for that, right? The poor man's religion. The really poor man's religion. If you can't afford a Bible, you gotta drink beers. Something like that. Alright, here's, I don't know what this kid's in here, but let's see. Via YouTube capture. Why is this indexed under Inmendham? Let's see. I don't think we have a hope of finding a connection here. Spell it right now.
Who are you? Who are you? Please tell me, who are you?
You spelled conscious wrong, you
Yes.
you
My
noob.
name is your conscience. You can call me Kyron's conscience.
Who the...
Or when you can call me George, because when you were 6,
I never told me
you
that.
called me George.
I never called you George.
Like, what the hell, man?
Me.
What the hell?
What? Oh, I don't understand. Who are
You
you?
did call me George.
Cool.
No, listen to me.
He's like South African or something, so he speaks good English, which is really funny, right? I mean, it's such a pleasure. But anyway, he's doing a little joke video. It's a pretty good joke. He's talking to his conscience. Let's see how it ends. Well, we'll go all the way down here. See how it ends. It's a good joke video.
I'm amazing. How can you be amazing?
I'm T.Leader. How can I not be?
Steve, like we haven't heard that one before.
Wait, what? What? No, come back, I beg, you come. Oh, man. I can't even remember my head, he's such an annoying prick. I'm coming for him, you know, I'm coming for him.
Annoying prick. Well, good thing you didn't use the N-word. Anyway, yeah, well, let's give this a like, just for, yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's a good job. Good job, bud. I don't know why it's indexed under Inmendham, though. It's just not there. Alright, here we go. Vocal thingy, fuck that. Itchy-brained goat. Oh, I don't know. Shall I bother? Okay, let's see what an itchy-brained goat is doing in here. Let's see, description. No description available. You can't see the tags anymore. That's the real problem. Oh, it's just an itchy-brained goat video. I don't think it's his brain that itches. I think it's his ear. It's an itchy-eared goat. Quite obviously, he's itching his ear. But okay, he's not very good at it, but he's trying his best. Okay. Alright, I'm not going to watch a half an hour of that. Alright, Brazil attempts to cut down the food waste. I ain't gonna bother with that, whatever the hell it is. Jay's Garden. It's probably not any Jay I know. Fuck that too. What is this shit? Brett interview, 1993, Vienna. Fuck that, I don't know what that is. So here's the one, My Misery and Me. That's the guy he did. But he's an idiot. Amusing atheist. Who are you and why are you amazing? Amazing. Oh, amusing. The amusing atheist, and why are you amazing? Oh, man, wordplay is just too idiotic. Alright, so that's it. Then we got housing crap, we got car crap. I don't know why that's here. These are sponsored videos, so fuck that shit. YouTube promoted videos. Hey, then we got a chick. Let's do the chick first, then we'll do zombie picture show, and then we'll call it a day. See what this chick is going on about. She's got some looks to her. Got a look. How to deal with negative or jealous people. Life by Lori. Be kind to everyone you meet. Fighting a hard battle. John Watson.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl Lori Painter, and today's
cool.
video I am answering one of your questions
Wow,
that has been
I'm
sent
excited.
to me.
Okay.
And here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it. This person has asked,
You like to be on top, or do you like the doggy thing, or, you know. That's really...
to remain anonymous.
Doable.
So, of course, I will totally honor that.
All right.
And here we go.
Yeah.
Dear Lori, thanks for your videos. I use them for my morning boost of positivity before I drive my daughter to school.
Oh, ugh, ugh. Ew, lesbian talk. Ew.
You were great. Awesome. I was watching your videos on embracing your beauty, which, by the way...
Embracing your beauty? Oh, come on. I can't take any more of this. Oh, man, almost got me. I mean, there's that whole brain rot thing. The whole thing just starts to shatter. Embracing your beauty. These are human beings. Embrace your beauty. Blow out your brains immediately. That's what I'm hearing. Yes, I will. I must find the bullet to eat.
Hello, everyone. This is a video response to Hitler Day 71 and Inmendham as well on objective morality.
Very good.
Morality challenge.
Very excellent. Fantastic.
Given by Hitler Day.
Great.
71.
Fantastic. Well, let's go.
Anyway.
I'm ready.
Can there be
I'm
objective morality?
here.
Is there such a thing as
Yes,
objective
I'm here, waiting. Yeah.
Objective morality screams.
What?
Sort of this.
Let's see.
Sort of
efficiency is a crazy idea.
Religious.
Right. Okay. So car efficiency is a religious idea. We have no business judging cars and figuring out whether they efficiently consume gasoline. That's religious mumbo jumbo. Just love your car. Don't judge your car. Judgment is crazy talk. Yeah, that's the religious thing, right? So when you judge life, that's being religious. Do you get the irony of this? That passing judgment is the religious idea, okay? But pretending it doesn't need to be judged or is above judgment. Life is above judgment. yeah, right. That's not a religious idea. Now, I think when you say that life is life, that's like saying God is God. That's what that is. So I think we know who the religious fucktard is.
Approach. It screams theism. Can there be such a thing as
Well, let's see you prove that logically. It's your logical argument explaining how it screams theism to rationally say we are engaged in activities that have outcomes, and those outcomes can be favorable to the sentient organisms or unfavorable. Let's see you unprove that.
Objective morality. Now, first, I want to respond to Inmendham, his contentions on his video, Objective Morality. He had 11 contentions, I think, on his video. Premises, if you will. His first premise is that the universe is composed of energetic substance confined by crude physical laws and properties and was not created by anything reasonably called intelligent. I would like to agree with that, but I do have a problem with assigning value to intelligence or non-intelligence.
Oh, man, well, you're really going to get into trouble there. I just don't know how the fuck you could possibly do that. How could you not assign a probabilistic connection between intelligent things and efficient things? I mean, really. If we let a retard build a nuclear power plant and we let Albert Einstein build a nuclear power plant, which one do you think has less chance of melting down? Yeah.
This proposition of assigning intelligence or non-intelligence or assigning blame is erroneous because it begets an illogical state of explanation when in fact there is none. There can be no explanation for this happenstance that we actually call life.
Yeah, there is an explanation, okay? It's just in the realm of possibility that things have phenomenological possibilities that could possibly create something like consciousness, some kind of phenomenon of real value, like diamondness could possibly been a significant event, instead of just being silly, like, okay, it's transparent, hard stuff, who cares? Instead of being that, it could have been, it goes ouch. That could have been the consequence, okay? But we can understand that, and we can understand that it's part of the package of possibility. But because it's part of the package of possibility doesn't mean it's exempt to our capacity to judge whether that process is a good process or a bad process, or whether there should be more diamonds or less diamonds. Oh, yeah.
This life was an unforeseen action of nature, a happenstance of covalent and ionic bonding, sort of a panspermic reaction to this constant.
Well, panspermic is a whole new concept. So you're saying a panspermic reaction is arguing that somehow something fucked the Earth. Well, no, let's not even get into that. We don't need to go somewhere else to find the origins of life. We can explain it. It's not. It doesn't have a godly origin on some other planet somewhere. And even if it has an origin on another planet, the other planet had to have abiogenesis had to happen somewhere. Oh, fuck.
Bombardment of meteors that brought forth carbon-based life forms that caused this state of being, meaning life. So again, what is the implication? Let's say life got here by taxi cab. Who cares? Is your argument that life, when it came from someplace, it didn't get invented somewhere? It just always was? It's just been taking a taxi all around the universe? Very definition, an accident can never be assigned blame.
Well, we're not assigning life blame. We're blaming the assholes who are calling themselves intelligent, who are saying, let's continue the process even though it's completely failing. I mean, if you made a hideous monster, right? Just a hideous monster, you did it wrong, right? You made a Frankenstein and his head is where his ass should be, his ass is where his head should be. The whole thing isn't working at all. The food goes in the wrong end, it comes out the wrong way. It's all fucked up all over the place. It's food bar all over. You don't sit there and say, let's make another one. I like it, it's funny. No, that's not what intelligence does. Intelligence puts away the fucking toolkit and says, I ain't going to do that again. Man, that was dumb.
Foreseen accident can never be assigned blame. Yeah, granted, there's foreseen accidents. For example, when you drive and you're eventually going to crash, or an accident might happen. It was an unforeseen accident, but there's a reason behind that. But there
yes, and again, this is all probabilistic, and we have all this probabilistic data. So again, don't pretend that we don't know what the odds are, and don't pretend that we know the dice are getting rolled more than once. So don't pretend we don't know that we are inevitably causing things to happen. I mean, we're directly causing them. They're not accidents anymore when you know it's going to happen. If you go to Las Vegas with 100 people and you start rolling dice, you know somebody's going to get snake eyes.
There's no reason behind what happened. There will never be a reason why covalent and ionic bonding were attracted, and why this attractor, if you will, of carbon was the prominent factor, or the dominant factor. No explanation whatsoever.
Well, we don't need an explanation. Again, no one's arguing about... let's both concede that life has a bastard origin, okay? Yeah, so it's a bastard child. That's really not the subject. Beyond the fact that bastard origin doesn't give you any credibility from the start. So you just don't start with any instant credibility. You don't have college degrees and networking and all that crap. You're just a homeless little piece of dirty shit. And now you have to earn your fucking keep. So how's life going to earn its keep?
We could explain it now, but back then, what had happened, it was just an unforeseen accident. Or
blah, 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 blah. Who cares?
So there's no need to assign a value of intelligence or non-intelligence. It just happened.
Well, again, that's not the point of assigning. That's not the point of pointing out it was created without intelligence. The point of pointing out it was without intelligence is there wasn't a pre-existing purpose or function that it's serving. It's not accomplishing anything by design. What we're assessing is, does it accomplish anything by accident? And it certainly accomplishes nothing good by accident. I mean, again, you go back to the hideous monster metaphor. I might have had the intention of creating this monster because he's vitally necessary to hold up the planet or something. He has some vital purpose. So then, all of a sudden, it really doesn't matter if his head's in the wrong place and his ass is in the wrong place and all that shit, because if he can still hold up the earth, then okay, he's validated because he's doing something necessary to some other condition. And the point is life doesn't serve any other necessary circumstance. It doesn't fulfill or complete some necessary functionality. It's not the necessary gear in some necessary watch.
The second contention is morality describes the obligation to maximize utilization of valued commodities, or the obligation to minimize the waste of value. The waste of value commodities, the obligation to minimize it. I mean, agreed, but this describes not a sort of morality. This describes sort of ethical economic theory.
Oh, come on. Yeah, ethical economic theory. So what? You're gonna just play grotesque semantics games. I'm not the one choosing to use a word like morality, okay? But that's the word people like to use. But I mean, obviously, these are all the same thing. Morality, ethics. Morality is the prescription that ethics dictate. Correct? We're not talking about morality. If it's going to be left to some sort of dogmatic dictates by a god, then obviously I'm not talking about dogmatic dictates by a god. I'm talking about what are the obligations of existence to the value component of existence. And that conversation is going to involve things called values, ethics, and morality. Those three words say the same exact fucking thing.
The value state of nature. And it's not really the case. Economics is not a value state of nature. Economics is more of a value state of your environment, your culture.
Well, I'm sorry. You don't get to economically in a culture make this shit up. Slavery is slavery. You don't get to culturally say slavery's okay. Slavery is a grotesque cheating of the value of the economics. So again, it's not culturally definable. Okay, I mean, a slave wage is a slave wage. You don't get to culturally make up that truth. You're either cheating someone or you're not cheating someone. You're either paying somebody for the value of their work or you're not paying them for the value of their work. There is no cultural make up the truth here. There's an absolute fact to economic fairness. You can see it. It either is fair or it's not fair.
What morality simply is an informational public system applying to all rational people that, for example, governing behaviors that affect others by having the lessening of harm as its main goal.
Well, I guess that's exactly what I said, didn't I? Yeah, I said it's minimize waste. That would be the lessening of unnecessary harm, correct? Correct.
So the object or the description or morality is to lessen the harm.
Oh, so again, exactly my words. I didn't use the word harm, right? Because harm is a little ambiguous, so I used the more technical term. So I agree, but I don't disagree, but I'll quote pretty much exactly what you said and make it sound like I'm saying something different. No, you're not saying anything different.
If it lessens the harm, if it doesn't fuck with people's welfare, if it doesn't fuck with sentient welfare, then that is objective morality. If it doesn't fuck with that whole notion of sentient things. If it doesn't fuck with the feelings of others.
Yeah, it's okay to fuck with them. It has to fuck with them to a necessary purpose, to a necessary elevation of the value equation. You can fuck with the car if you're going to make the car more fuel efficient. You don't fuck with the car if you're going to make the car consume more gasoline. Then you leave your fucking hands off of it. Quit fucking with it if you're going to make it run worse. First, do no harm.
Yeah. That is, of course, what morality describes. What morality describes is just simply the lessening of harm of sentient things.
Right. That can't possibly be described as not wasting suffering. No, those aren't the same thing at all. Not even close to the same thing. Except they're exactly the same thing.
Contention number 3, or premises number 3, effects on the longest net outcome is what must be effectively assessed. Effective to the needs of the many. we need to access what that is. That we need to access what this will be. We need to access what we will call, for example, yes, objective morality. That is objective morality because we assess it, and now everybody understands it. Everybody's on the same page.
Look, the obvious point is I can decide to bang cymbals here in my house. And if there was somebody else in my house, I could say, ooh, that's really annoying. And then I give them earmuffs. And then they say, oh, that's not annoying anymore. I think I've solved the problem. But the fact is, no, there's a whole bunch of other people who live next door to me who are finding me incredibly obnoxious still. So I haven't solved the problem because, I didn't solve the whole problem. I only solved the little short-term problem or the close problem. So the proximity and time are the only, you have to do the implications of your sound vibrations in the world, your influences in the world. You have to measure their impact based on complete impact. You have to wait until what I do bounces off the moon and comes back again as an echo. You have to wait for the echo to see what the real effect is, that kind of thing. So it's the long term and it's the broadest effect. And without those answers, or without reliable speculation on what those truths will be, you're not going to be getting the right answer to your value equation in some cases. Most cases, you can just do the little short-term stuff right here, kind of stuff right here. That's all that's going to matter, is the right here. But there are cases where the only thing that's going to matter is the everywhere.
Exactly, so we need to assess that. The fourth contention is that probabilities define logical or moral imperatives. I think moral imperatives are defined if they don't. Moral imperatives are moral imperatives if they don't interfere with the three essential human qualities. The first essential human quality is moral acts must engage the intellect.
Oh, well, this is just what? That's your religion or something, right? Moral acts must engage the intellect. I'm not going to... I think this is probably enough. Well, let's go. I mean, really, it was a simple enough statement. It didn't need to be perverted, okay? The fact is there's a logical, rational imperative. That becomes the morality. So when you know the math, when you got your net answer to what it is, if it's red numbers, well, then you have to redo it. You have to come up with some new way to do it because you can't do the red number thing. Duh.
It must affect and engage the intellect, not feelings. It must engage the intellect, and that's it. Number two, if it doesn't interfere with your own volition. And number three, if your own volition doesn't interfere with someone else's freedom of being, that will be a lot.
Well, again, that doesn't mean anything either, because how it interferes is the whole point here. So you can't say your own volition, because we know that every single thing you do, you buy something at Walmart, you're essentially feeding the Walmart monster, you're enslaving the Chinese, you're doing all that. You buy meat at the store, you didn't kill the meat, you didn't actually do anything, but yes, you're supporting a whole industry that's doing its thing. So again, this is... You can't narrow it to these. You've got to recognize the fact that there is a complete math, and that's just incomplete math.
Moral imperatives. The fifth contention is beyond reasonable doubt, beyond reasonable contention, or evasion. As I said, if it doesn't violate someone else's space of being, your freedom is negated, or your freedom ends when you interfere with someone else's freedom.
Yeah, well, there's no way to not interfere is really the bottom line, right? You marry a woman, right? She would have married somebody else. You get it? I mean, it just doesn't end. Your interference is impossibly complex. So that's just, in my opinion, just no way to do the math at all. I mean, you're doomed to failure if you're going to do it from that perspective.
Your freedom ends when you fuck with someone else's freedom. That is when your freedom ends. Again, to assign, for example, objective morality will be to not interfere with sentient beings' freedom, with their state of affairs, if you will. That will be an objective.
Well, again, no, that's just bullshit. The point is, if you know the right answer, you do it. If you're the best driver in the car, you drive. These are the simple truths here. The imperative is that the best case be invested in, and the worst case be every effort be made to avoid those. That's the fucking imperative. Maximize the good, minimize the loss.
The morality, that would be an objective moral. Your sixth premises was
I mean, based on probability, right? That was the premise. The premise was the probabilities dictate what is logically the obligation. So if you have a 1 in 10 chance over here of getting whatever 6 points, and you have a 1 in 5 chance over here of getting 6 points, if there's a 1 in 10 chance of complete disaster over here, and there's no chance of complete disaster over here, I'm just saying by calculation you have to take this choice. This is the choice, okay? It's got minimum risk to downside risk and maximum upside potential. So this is the one you do. That's the moral imperative. Do the right thing. Do the thing that has the least risk and the highest potential for gain.
The difference between a recognized real value and mentally contrived projection of value. The difference between objective morality, since we're talking about objective morality, is real value and not a mentally contrived projection of value. The freedom or your volition comes to an end if it affects someone else's projection of freedom.
Well, that's not what it's about. It's about the fact that a bleeding, wounded bird in the driveway has real value. It needs help, and its need is real. The idea that the Cheeto needs to be eaten, that you need to go get the Cheeto and eat the Cheeto, that's a projection of value. That need only exists in your head. It doesn't exist in the world. The Cheeto doesn't need to be eaten. You need to eat the Cheeto. The bird needs help, okay? You don't need to help it. You might not feel the need to help it. You might not feel any motivation to help it, but the fact is the bird needs your help. That's the difference. One thing needs the value recognition. One thing, you make it valuable even though it's a piece of shit, like pussy and stuff.
If it doesn't interfere with the moral imperative state of others, of other beings, yeah, that's when a real value states.
Well, so again, that had nothing to do with my premise. All right, my premise had nothing to do with the negotiations between human beings or whether you're interfering with somebody. It has to do with things that have real value, that scream for attention, that need attention because of their properties. Injured bird, it's the bird's properties, and things that have no intrinsic value, like boob, okay, and its properties. None of its properties are I need biting. But yet somehow I'm going to feel that it needs biting. That's the problem. That's the subject. That's the fucking what the premise is saying. There's projected value and there's real value. They're not the same thing.
The seventh premise is to be value relevant, something must affect the experimental welfare of a feeling entity.
Experiential, that should have been, but whatever. I might have spelled it wrong. Yeah.
Increase or decrease comfort. On moral objectives, or a moral objective is a moral objective regardless of feelings, of state of being. And I hate when people...
Well, whatever. You can hate it all you want, but I'm sorry. The only thing that makes something valuable is because you're going to take something from a negative state and rise it to a positive state. You're going to make somebody happy or you're going to make somebody not suffer. But that's it. There's no other way for something out there in the universe to have meaning. The only way you derive meaning is you have to impact a sentience. You have to put a little smile on their face.
Anyone gets feelings in the way. If we want to equate or inquire about feelings, might as well just adopt bullshit philosophies as utilitarianism, virtue asceticism, normative asceticism, and the very offensive hedonism. The greatest amount of pleasure for the greatest amount of people is a real value. Now, fuck that.
Well, again, straw man much, like I said, I mean, really, you can't be throwing all those things into the same category and say, that's all the same stuff. Science, religion, all the same. No, that's bullshit, fella.
Doesn't make sense. The eighth premise is aesthetics is a projection of value and not a recognition of value. No. Aesthetics is the recognition of value and not a sentiment of its value. Finality will be a recognition that will project its subjective worth value.
Yeah, whatever that is, right? So he's saying that because you think boobs are cool, hot, interesting, beautiful, then they are. So if I'm a homosexual and I really get off on looking at a man's anus fluttering in the wind or something, that's the truth. Anuses are the coolest thing ever. No, it's not the truth. Beauty is bullshit. Subjective, projected value.
Yeah. Ninth premise is extremes are easily quantified, valued, weighted, and of course equated. And this I agree with. The 10th premise is the existence of sentient creates value. Conscious experiences produces a value state. Agreed. A conscious experiencer, if you will produce a valued program.
No, that's not it. That's not a value program. No. They will have a state of value. They will be running in it constantly. Every 5 minutes you could measure their conscious state, and it can go big bars, little bar, big bar, little bar of value.
Premises is the hypothesis theory. All conscious states are relative degrees of a negative state. This, of course, breeds a lot of David Benatar. I'm not saying that he got it from there. I'm not saying that. But I read...
Yeah, well, obviously I didn't, because I was talking about the zero-sum game long before I even heard of his name. And that's just the YouTube historical fact.
David Benatar, and he believes that there's only negative degrees of state, from the least pleasant to the more pleasant. And that is, of course, just a negative scale.
Well, you did it backwards, so you didn't really point out the negative scale. There's less harm and more harm. So it's all degrees of harm.
It's erroneous to say so. It should be from 10 to most pleasant.
No, you're happiest when you're relieved of negatives. So if I take away, that's all that, look, if I gave you $1 million, it would make you happy. Why? Oh, because it gets rid of all your problems. It solves a big, huge, giant pile of your frozen inaccessibility problems. It basically pulls you out of the wheelchair and lets you walk again. You're out of debt, you get the chicks. I mean, everything that was closed off to you is now opened up to you. That's why the money makes you happy, is because it basically took the chains that you don't really see that are all over you, and it just snip, broke all the chains, and you're now liberated. Okay, so that's why money is fun, is because money is liberating. Burden removal, that's what money's good for. Burden removal. That's what orgasms are. Burden removal.
To 10 being the next, from positive 10 to negative 10. Negative 10 being the most extreme suffering you will ever experience in, I don't know, positive 10 to...
No, 0. You're just not getting how it works. 0. 0 is the best you'll ever feel. It's when you get right to the 0 and you remove all the limitations, all the burdens, all the frustrations, all the tensions, all the gravity itself pressing down on you is released, and that is your best euphoria. Euphoria is merely being liberated from the burdens of fucking conscious existence that you have grown accustomed to and tolerant of, and you don't even realize how much bullshit you're dragging with you through every day of your fucking putrid life.
Kind of thing. And of course, it has to be valued. It has to be weight.
the real point. Oh shit! I just
On his
fucked
video,
it up.
Protect Morality.
Anyway, the point is you're not even supposed to be arguing that crap anyway. That final point was just put on there that ultimately this is where it's all going to lead anyway. But don't get to this thing because that doesn't have anything to do with objective morality. The subject of objective morality is these 10 premises, not that last conclusion. But whatever.
Intelligence is our greatest genetic, greatest genetic inheritance. Yeah, that's a good word.
No, it isn't. It really isn't. Okay, look, we inherited this intelligence because it was a good scheming tool. Okay, it just like, you know, it made whales, like say killer whales, and you watch them kill a seal. And so they have intelligence. They intelligently scheme, okay, to knock this poor seal off its ice floe so they can rip its skin off and go chomp, 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 yum, yum, yum. And so that's what intelligence exists for. That's why nature gave it to us. It's because it's a malicious tool, not something else. It makes us more maniacal in our taking from the world and in the selfish production of our DNA molecule. Again, selfish production of our DNA molecule. Selfish, racist, familyist, nepotistic, nationalistic replication of our kind. That's what intelligence exists to do. Now, obviously, we can do better than that with intelligence, and that's the trick. The intelligence itself can own itself. Isn't that neat? Intelligence can actually own our brain. It can invade our brain and own us instead of us owning it. Instead of the ape being in control of the intelligence can say, fuck you, ape. You're a retard. Sit in the corner. I'm not giving you any bananas.
It's our greatest genetic inheritance.
I mean, that was really good. I mean, that was just another great Inmendham moment, wasn't it? I mean, wasn't that a great analogy for what's happened here on planet Earth? I mean, that was fucking great. I mean, I should get something. I should get a little fucking gold star or something. I should get a piece of candy. I should get something for that. Except all this fucking grief I get from you assholes. I mean, that was a fucking brilliant explanation of what the fuck is happening here. We're sitting here as dumb animals built by this stupid, insidious molecule to be these fucking gladiator machines. And here, as we glean information for our weapon, our spear-throwing mechanics, the spear thrower actually says, it actually figures out, wait a minute, I should throw the spear at this motherfucker throwing the spears. It actually becomes smarter than us, and it tells us, fuck, it points the spear at us and says, fuck you, cunt, and your selfish bullshit. I'm smarter than you. I'm Mr. fucking Spock now. Yeah, I was just a spear thrower at first, but I'm Mr. fucking Spock now, and I'm gonna punch you in the fucking head if you don't fucking grow up and be an adult here and play this game right. Because I can see you're playing it as a little selfish, petty, weaselly piece of crap. So the spear thrower, the arm, now becomes the fucking strength. It becomes the owner of the goddamn machine, and it tells the machine, do as I say, or I'm going to shove this spear right through your fucking head, you cunt. Yeah, anyway, that was pretty good.
Morality is independent of religion.
Blah, 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 blah,
just
blah,
like
blah, blah.
freaking economics is just
Blah, blah,
dependent
blah, 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 blah,
on
blah.
this environment. It's
What does this have to
dependent
do
on
with English?
culture.
Nothing.
Just take a look at the first monotheist religion.
Blah, 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 blah.
Zoroaster.
That's all right. Look, that was one of the premises, all right? This conversation is not about religion, okay? Religion's not on the table. Religion is fucked-hearted. We can both agree on that. Doesn't have anything to do with objective morality. Fuck the religious bullshit. It's not the subject. Oh, shit.
Well, it didn't die. It just became more silent. But anyway, our intelligence is under strong genetic control. So,
well, that's just nonsense. There's no genetic control. It's just the opposite. We have escaped genetic control. Condom. Newsflash. We are no longer under the control of the DNA molecule. That's the whole game we're playing. We're playing something called civilization, which means now we can impose fairness. Now we can impose logic. Now we can impose all these good things that nature didn't want us to have. I mean, fuck. This is stupid.
As very nature, morality is an innate part of our psychology.
Well, whatever. Our psychology, again, doesn't own us now. Our knowledge does. That's the whole fucking point.
Now, Furthermore, the orbital frontal area is where all the morality programs are run.
Oh, I'm not even going to bother anymore. This is just silly. Morality programs. No, again, information. You learn what fairness is by analyzing and by just doing game theory. It explains it right to you. You just open your eyes, you say, where am I? Oh, I'm on a board. It has squares. It has other players. Well, let me rise above it a little bit, take a look at it, and see what the game is. And that's all we had to do. We just rise above it and say, oh, this is the game. These things all feel. Some of these things think they're worth 3 times what these other things are. Well, that's sort of bullshit. They're not worth 3 times. You know, you figure out what the game is, and you say, well, what's fairness here? How do we decide who gets thrown off the board? And how do we decide how they get thrown off the board? Because this seems like the only thing that happens in this stupid game is things get thrown off the fucking board. And the only thing to decide, really, is who and how. There. That's morality. Who, how. That's morality. Right? And ultimately, what rational people will say is, why are you playing this game? And then you say, oh, yeah, there really isn't a reason, is there? No, let's quit playing. It's stupid. Let's quit making pieces so they can get thrown off a board. How and why. Yeah, fuck the how and why. Fuck getting thrown off the board. Fuck putting them on the board. Duh. Not complicated.